Okay, today I am going to be going over Lesson 5, Problem Set, our homework for this evening. So we are still working with ratios, and if I'm having any trouble at all, I'm going to resort back to my color coding options and my directions that are in my math notebook about how to solve these word problems and these ratio things. Step 1 is always to read the problem completely. So we have number 1. It says, last summer at Camp Okie Fun Okie, the ratio of the number of boy campers to the number of girl campers was 8-7. Right away as I read that, my brain's starting to pick up on things that I've heard of before. So when it says ratio of number of boy campers, I'm thinking, okay, that's the first thing that's mentioned. That's my first number. I see that ratio verbiage of 2, number of girl campers, so I know that's my second. And then they give me this ratio here. So as I'm reading, I'm picking up on those things and kind of like visualizing them in my head or giving the color codes in my head, because those things and those connections should be coming a little better to you as we practice these more and more. So again, last summer at Camp Okie Fun Okie, the ratio of the number of boy campers to the number of girl campers was 8-7. If there were a total of 195 campers, how many boy campers were there? How many girl campers? So the first thing I notice is, what do I need to answer here? So I actually have 2 question marks in this one. I need to be able to answer how many boy campers there were, and I also need to answer how many girl campers there were. So down here for workspace number 1, I'm going to pull that out and say there were blank boys and then blank girls. I'm being lazy here. I don't have to write there were blank boys. I could just say blank and blank girls. But I've pulled out the important information so I can keep that in the back of my head as I'm doing this. After we know what we're answering, then we kind of have to know what we're talking about. And again, it goes back to those things that I read. Number of boy campers to the number of girl campers. So I know that my 2 labels here, my first one's going to be boys because that's the first one that was mentioned. Sorry. And then I have girl campers here because that was the second thing that was mentioned. After I know what I'm dealing with, then I can go to the specifics of, well, what goes with what? And that's our orange information. And that's this 8-7. So that tells me that I need to make 8 boxes for the boys that are all the same size, because no matter how many boys I have, I know there's 8 equal groups. So I just kind of start with an amount and try to keep them about the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I just add 1 on because I made it a little small. Okay. Next, I see the number is 7. That goes with my girls because it's mentioned second. So that tells me that I need 7 boxes that are the exact same size because I have 8 groups for every 7 groups of girls. So I'm just going to draw it right underneath here. And I'm going to make those exactly the same. Okay, so there's where I demonstrate my 8-7. Then I need one more piece of information before I can solve anything, and I call that our green information or our extra information. And in this case, it says there's a total of 195 campers. So green information usually goes either here, they tell me how many boys there are, or they tell me how many girls there are, or sometimes they tell us the total. So in this case, it told us a total, so that tells me that the boys and girls are together are going to be 195, which totally makes sense because what I'm trying to find is the number of boys, so I need to find this information, and the number of girls, I need to find this information. So this is where that tricky part comes in for some of us. If this is our total of 195, what do I do with that? Well, what I do is I take this 195 and I have to split it evenly between all of these boxes. Remember, all of these boxes are the same size. They're the same size of groups. So I need to take 195 and split it evenly, Or another way to say that is take the 195 and divide it between all of these boxes. So I have 8 boxes up here, 7 boxes down here. I know 7 and 7 is 14, so one more means I have 15 boxes. So I need to take this 195 and divide it between 15 boxes. So I'm going to do some long division down here. I know I can get 0 groups of 15 out of 1. So I go to 19. I can get 1 group of 15 out of 19. So I put that here, subtract. 9 minus 5 is 4. And as we're doing these videos, anything that I do expect you to do them along with me, especially if you are stuck. If you're looking at these videos just to make sure you are on the right track and you've already done your work, it's fine to just kind of make sure you're on the right track. But if you're doing it because you were stuck and you're doing every step along with me, I expect you to do each of these things, the color coding, the wording, all of this math along with me as well. So then I bring down, how many groups of 15 can I make out of 45? Well, I know it goes 15, 30, 45. So that's 3 groups of 15. 3 times 15 is 45. So that divided evenly, that tells me that 13 needs to be in every single one of these boxes. Am I done with my problem? No, because I still don't know how many boys and how many girls there are. I can figure it out now because I know I have 8 groups of 13. So again, I'm going to do this math right over here. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 more is 10. So that gives me 104 boys. And then I need 7 groups of 13 girls. So 7 groups of 13. 7 times 3 is 21. Carry the 2. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 more is 9. That's 91. Then, just to be sure, does 104 and 91 get me my total campers that I started with, 195? 4 plus 1 is 5. 9 plus 0 is 9. 1 plus 0, 195. It does. Just for fun here, I want to try this option instead of doing the multiplying like this. I'm going to break this into 8 times 10. So this one, if I did a number bond of 8 times 10 and got 80, and then a number bond of 8 times 3 and get 24, and combine those together, I also get the 104. So just another way to look at it. And here I could do the same thing. I can break this into 7 times 10, which would be 70, and 7 times 3, which is 21, and then I can quickly add those together to get 91 as well. So just practicing breaking those up to do it more mentally in our heads than doing those steps, which sometimes might help us to keep from making some mistakes. So my answer here, there were 104 boys and 91 girls. If you're ready to fly on your own, go ahead and try number 2 on your own. If you're not, go ahead and stick with me. All right, for number 2, read the whole problem. The student to faculty ratio at a small college is 17 to 3. The total number of students and faculty is 740. How many faculty members are there at the college? How many students? Okay, this is very similar to this first one, so I'm going to let you do it exactly like we did this one. See if you can make that application and figure that one out, because it is 2 questions. It has total number of students and faculty, just like this total number. So I'm going to let you do number 2 on your own. Let's look at number 3. The Speedy Fast Ski Resort has started to keep track of the number of skiers and snowboarders who bought season passes. The ratio of the number of skiers who bought season passes to the number of snowboarders who bought season passes is 1 to 2. So in my head, as I read it, I already know those are my pinks. This is my orange. If 1,250 more snowboarders bought season passes than skiers, how many snowboarders and how many skiers bought season passes? All right, I'm going to find my blue information. What is it that I need to find for this question? Because it's pretty long, but it all boils down to that I need to find how many snowboarders and how many skiers bought season passes. So I have to find two different things there, even though there's one question mark. So now that I know that, again, when I was reading it, I already picked up on the pink information. What are the two things that we're comparing? It says the ratio, so that kind of gives me a hint of the number of skiers who bought season passes to, there's that ratio language, number of snowboarders who bought season passes is 1 to 2. So that tells me down here, I got to write my question here. What am I looking for? I'm looking for number of snowboarders is blank, and number of skiers is blank. Okay, so I determined my importance. So now my two titles here in order, number of skiers goes first, number of snowboarders goes second. Skiers, snowboarders. Okay, so I also noticed here, these are in different order, so I got to make sure that I'm being careful when I answer the questions. Then, now that I know what I'm comparing, what is the number that I'm comparing? So that's my orange information, and that's that ratio right here of 1 to 2. So if I have 1 skier compared to 2 snowboarders, what does that look like? So I drew my boxes, exact same size, because whatever number I find to get into one of the boxes is the number that's going to be in every single box. Next, I need to find my green information, and this time it's a little different than before. It says 1,250 more snowboarders. So we talked earlier, sometimes the green information is total skiers, sometimes it's snowboarders, sometimes it's total of both of them together. And this time is what we practiced in class, is when it's 1,250 more. So looking at this picture, again, why I love tape diagrams, is it gives you the visual. Where is the part that is more? 1,250 more snowboarders. Well, this little piece right here is the section that's more. So that actually makes it pretty easy, because if that's our extra, 1,250, we now know how much is in each box. So this has to be 1,250. We draw them the same because they are the same size groups. So that means this is 1,250. So now, how many skiers? 1,250. How many snowboarders? What is that? 2,500. I could find the total, but I don't need to, so I'm going to be lazy. So now going back up here, number of snowboarders. Be careful. Where is that in your information? And it's the total number of snowboarders and then the total number of skiers. All right, question 4 is very similar to question 3. So if you do the same steps that we did for number 3, that should help you with number 4 as well. I hope the rest of your homework goes well, and these strategies are helping, and you are on the right track to being successful. Have a great day.